right. If I did everything right, we should be live. Welcome to Readings with Rebecca. This is our first remote live stream, broadcasting live from Seattle, Washington. It's nice to see everybody. I hope you don't mind the webcam laptop angle here. So far, it doesn't look like we have anyone in here, but we'll see where we are here in a few minutes. Oh man. And then if nobody shows up in like 5 or 10 minutes, we'll just call it a day, right? No, at least leave a chapter read so that we can, what's it called? Oh my goodness, it's Chris Wilder! And that's unusual. It should have worked. It really should have. How strange. It's nice to see Chris. Nice to see Naked Mewtwo. I am, as I said, remote today, so I'm probably only going to stream for about an hour. I've been up here in Seattle looking after Spirit family, helping them through a tough time. Between the riots, COVID-19, months of isolation, and 2020 just being the apocalypse sont grande, extra large, it's been hard on all of us, right? So here we are. It's been wild. I've been in Seattle. My grandfather has been sick. He's having surgery soon. Doctors have assured us that there is a low incidence of mortality, which is encouraging, I guess. It's a simple operation. It's outpatient, but we're still worried about him. My parents are moving. I still haven't been able to get out hiking because everything in Washington is still in a state of flux. My laptop died. Our Subaru broke down. It's been very challenging lately, but life goes on. Things continue to go well. I've been working a lot. I've been writing a lot. Starfall, my most recent manuscript, I crossed 140,000 words in it on Thursday. Means I've almost doubled the size of the manuscript since March, when I was initially leaving for the Pacific Crest Trail. So, all of those are good things. Um, I'm really happy with Starfall. It's very long. Starfall is kind of the culmination of everything that's happened in my Farthest Star universe so far, both released and currently unreleased content. It's novel number 17 for me overall in lifetime. I'm actually hoping that it will be done by July. If it is done by July, that will mean that it is the first time I've taken a year to write a book since Rise of the Forgotten, which actually took me a couple years, but that was mainly a result of mental health issues and depression. This thing is massive. It's already 50,000 words longer, thereabouts, than Rise of the Forgotten and Sins of the Solar Republic, which have yet to be released, which are the two longest things that I've produced up until Starfall. With novels, quality matters more than size. Make jokes as you will there. But all of that being said, um, you know, I am very happy with how it's going. I like how I'm developing as an author. And I'm excited about the day far on down the line that it will finally be released. Right now, once again, because of the craziness that is 2020 and all of that fun stuff. Farthest Star, and which I was hoping to release in June. Those edits have slowed down to a crawl. Once again, no judgment there. It's just been the first 6 months of 2020 have been a long decade, but we've made it through. And I just, I've got no anger about anything that's been going on. We're all just trying to make it through. It's been hard, but things are starting to get better. And then the protests broke out. A lot of people have been voicing their support for the protesters. I made a couple Instagram posts about this. I'm also in full support of the protesters. I definitely think things need to change. That being said, I condemn the actions of the few that are looting and rioting and hurting people, because I don't condone looting, rioting, or hurting people. That's not advancing a movement. That's not advocating for change with a loud voice. If you're looting, rioting, and hurting people, then you are using a legitimate protest movement, and you are using a man's death who died quite unjustly as an excuse for thuggery. And you can quote me on that. If people are out there in a loud voice just crying out for change, totally down with that. Keep marching, keep yelling, keep screaming, keep raising awareness. Don't let the powers that be switch the focus off of what needs to and must change, because, as I said, the death of George Floyd has again exposed large fault lines within our culture on the basis of race and equal justice under law that must be addressed if we are to ever to live up to the highest ideals of our republic. But burning down somebody's small business, looting a Best Buy or whatever, that is not going to advance the highest ideals of our republic. That is giving people an excuse to be dismissive of these issues. It is granting people an excuse to ignore the real problems that need to be faced. It is taking heat away from a fire that must be maintained if there is to ever be real change. Guys, didn't know you were going to get a rant this early, huh? But yeah, I'm up here in Seattle. I came up here while the riots were still ostensibly going on. I drove through the downtown I-5 corridor with these large electronic freeway signs talking about, do not exit here, travel is not advised, curfew is in effect, which is very surreal. It's kind of funny. The person that I'm currently staying with, I'm up here to help. I was also visiting them on the night of Trump's election in 2016 when they lived in the Bay Area at the time. And I watched Oakland burn from an apartment balcony in Alameda. And once again, people were showing their level of intelligence and decency, protesting the election of Trump by destroying immigrant districts in Oakland that were occupied by some of the peoples, some of the poorest and most vulnerable populations out there, which is just great look, guys, great look. Full on sarcasm. So yeah, if you want to advocate for change, do so. You want us to round City Hall, blockade a police station, whatever, do so. You want to start hurting innocent people. You want to start targeting businesses. Once again, you're using righteousness as a veil for thuggery. And that's just not on. They're responding to oppression with oppression. Doesn't fix anything. We aren't going to get out of this by burning down private businesses. But anyway, enough of that. All right. So, it's been a while. I had to take last week off. There was just too much that was going on. Even hair-raising games on Sunday was a stretch. It's just been hard, guys, and I'm sorry about that. But this isn't about me bemoaning my challenges and issues. I'm actually doing a lot better this week. Where we last left things off in Exile's Return, Charlie was infiltrating in, or about to, with the black box. We were getting ready to have a quick switch in the story. Things are moving right along. We are 40% done, according to my statistics that I can see here with Exile's Return. We'll see if we can't get a little further today. With that being said, let's just get into it, shall we? I'm going to make this big. I'm going to drag this over. I'm only working off of 2 monitors, which sounds so spoiled, but when you're managing multiple windows and one of those monitors is a 14-inch laptop screen, yeah. But let's just kind of get into it. I have done my best to quickly get things ready to go here. Let's catch up. Let's see what we're doing, alright? And we'll at least do 2 chapters. We might do 3 or 4. We'll see where we are. Alright. Water break. Oh, one other thing. Before I get started. Seattle is Coffee City. It's funny. Everybody talks about Starbucks and how Starbucks is based in Seattle. That's kind of like visiting a foreign country and then going to McDonald's. You cannot throw a rock in this city without hitting a good coffee shop. It is amazing. And there's actually one quite near to where I'm staying called Java Jane's. It's just a little drive-through thing. They come in 24-ounce sizes, which is just holy crud. And the coffee is amazing. Like I said, you can do so much better than Starbucks in this town. And that is one of the things that I absolutely love about visiting Seattle, is that, once again, you cannot throw a rock in this city during a COVID pandemic or otherwise without finding good coffee. So, yay. That makes me very happy because Java is love, Java is life. Hail Java, motivator of my neurons, mover of my synapses to task. Alright, guys. Let's get into some reading. Chapter 14. Neural activity detected. Resuming log. S. Dawkins. White-hot stabs of pain and a too bright light above me. My world came back into focus to reveal the light of the medbay assaulting me with its luminescent ferocity. Wincing in pain, I shut my eyes to the offending light and tried to focus on anything but the throbbing, constant pain I felt. As I drifted, the quiet sounds of the ship welcomed me, only to be interrupted by a piece of conversation that I suddenly heard float by. We don't have any leads on who did this, Doctor. How bad is the damage? Will she recover? This man's voice was new and stern, but almost detached. Someone I had not met before. She was pretty touch and go there for a while. The damage was severe. Both forelegs were broken, multiple broken ribs, a skull fracture, and a bad concussion. Not to mention internal bleeding and massive contusions all over her body. Somebody beat the hell out of her. She's lucky to be alive. As I listened to the doctor make his report, all I could wonder was why anyone would do this. Why aren't her nanites repairing the damage? The stern voice asked again, demanding their answers. Major, her micromachinery is the only reason she's alive right now. The damage she suffered is extensive and serious. The good news is they are rebuilding, and I expect her to be up for duty in about a week's time. The Morphic Biotech is doing an amazing job of repairing her systems, the doctor replied. Good to know. Why can't you do more to repair the damage? Our systems are designed for humans. The physiology is too different, and I'm no expert on hair physiology. I could easily kill her. The best thing to do is let her own systems repair as much of the damage as possible and just take it from there. The doctor looked over at me. I tried to lift my right forepaw, but was rewarded with a jolt of pain that made me let out a small squeal. If you'll excuse me, I think she's awake. I need to attend to my patient, the doctor said. You keep me apprised of her condition. I heard the stomp of his boots as he left the med bay. Suddenly, a twinge of pain hit, and I squealed even louder. My body was on fire. I tried to call out, but I couldn't feel my voice color. Mercifully, I heard the doctor come close. Easy, Missy. You've had quite a go of it. Don't try and talk. Your voice color was smashed in your attack. We're building you a new one, but it's going to take time. Your condition is stable, and I'm monitoring you closely. Right now, we need you to rest. There was a coolness spreading near what must have been an IV port on my left foreleg, and then suddenly the pain was gone and nothing mattered. I was floating and mercifully felt myself slipping back into unconsciousness. Awareness came again, and with it the wonderful sensation of someone stroking my fur ears to tail. The touch was gentle, light, and very soothing. Everything in my world was hazy but serene. I tried to move and suddenly sneezed. As my nose cleared, it was assaulted with the familiar but choking scent of cologne again. It could only have been Charlie. Hey there, just rest, he told me, noticing that I was awake. Don't worry, you're safe, and I'm watching to make sure whoever did this doesn't come back. His tone was kind and strong. I felt so safe as he stroked my fur gently, and then I felt the gentle unconsciousness begin to seize me again. Surrendering again to euphoria, my world faded to peaceful blackness. Hi, Allie. It's good to see you. I'm glad that you got here. I would say that I'm probably pretty addicted to coffee and tea. I guess we all have our vices. I usually start the day with like 4 to 6 cups of coffee. I go through, I make an 8-cup pot and I drink that. Most of it before my run, but like 2 or 3 cups after my run. I put it in my protein shake after my run. So I have like a Java protein shake, which is nice because after I run like 6 miles, I'm pretty hammered. Audio's a twinge on the quiet side. Just a minute. I will see about fixing that. Might not be able to fix that. Just a second, guys. Should still be able to hear me. Let me see what we got here. Settings. Aha, there we go. I've turned up the gain on my mic. Guys, let me know. How is that? Does that sound any better? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am here and I'm alive. Haha. Let me know if that's too loud. If it is, I will turn it. Ah, much better. Should I go more or less? Talk to me, talk to me. Okay, cool. Cool. I'm using a slightly different system. I forgot to bring the single headset cord. I brought the double like an idiot. So I'm actually using my wired headphones that I use for my phone. Yay me. Alright. Let me F11. Let's get back to it. Alright, we're back in. Life is good. I miss doing this, guys. I really did. You guys are the greatest. Alright. I'm going to adjust that just a little bit. See how that goes. Right now I feel like I'm just like a floating head. Maybe if you can see my shoulders. Yeah, that frames me a little bit better. Let me just bend that a little bit more, even if it's a little harder to read. There we go. Now that I occupied more of the center of it, I'm not just a talking head reading a story. Alright. So let's get back into it, I guess. Caffeine. Wonderful and terrible drug. Better living through chemistry. I spent the next week recuperating in sickbay, gradually taking on more and trying to aid in the discovery of who attacked me. Charlie was my near-constant companion, always with a pistol at his side. The processing box for my voice collar was destroyed in my attack, so I was reduced to left paw for yes, right paw for no, much to the vexation of Major Randall Newman, the head of ship security who was investigating my attack. We were trying everything to get to the bottom of what had happened, but progress was slow. The evidence was spotty. A nightstick with no prints was found in my quarters, but other than that, the perpetrators vanished into the ether. I was busy, going through a roster of ship personnel when the Major entered. Captain Dawkins, have you managed to recognize anyone? I looked up at him with a frustrated glance and raised my right paw, huffing slightly. Just how long till you get that pattern for the builder stations to get her collar up and running? Charlie asked. He seemed to be as frustrated as I was. We are trying, Lieutenant Commander. He almost snarled it out. Remember, reminding Charlie of his lesser rank. You have to remember that up until yesterday, the pattern for her voice processor didn't exist in the military database. There's a reason they aren't in the service, Commander. It's just so much more complicated when you have to deal with multiple genetic phenotypes. The Major had been irritated since I met him, and I couldn't tell if it was because of the attack or that he didn't like me. Major, with all due respect, this isn't time for a political discussion. An attempt on an ambassador's life was made on the fleet flagship, the one place she should be safest, Charlie replied, with just the slightest tone of disdain in his voice. I understand that, Lieutenant Commander, and need I remind you of your rank? You are addressing a superior officer. When I want your analysis, I will ask for it. Do you get me? The Major snapped. Do you realize you are talking to the chief aide of an ambassador in the diplomatic corps? I don't need a UEA Marine telling me who's superior. Trust me, I know, Charlie replied with a tone of menace to his voice. Let me know if she recognizes anyone, Commander. With that, he turned and left in a huff. I was finally released to my quarters later that afternoon with the news that my collar had been repaired. My right forepaw was still a little tender, but I was feeling relatively fit and healthy after everything the last week had brought. Upon entering my quarters, the security detail remained at the door as Charlie went in with me. I was surprised to see the Major sitting in the chair near my bed, holding my purple collar in his gloved hands. He saw me standing there and thrust out his hand near what was eye level for me. I hopped up, took the collar, and then froze. Unbidden images of the beating flashed through my mind like a storm. With each blow from the cruel sticks came a flash of memory, of the pain and confusion, of the need to get away. Ambassador, if you don't mind, I have much to do today. Can we get on with this? The Major savagely snapped me back to reality, and I realized I was standing before him, holding my new collar in my outstretched paw. I took a few more panicked breaths, then fastened it around my neck. Now that you can speak again, perhaps you're ready to answer some questions. It's very important that we get your story. Commander Stevens, would you be so good as to wait outside? Charlie saluted the Major and left as I started to acclimate to my new collar. So in your own words, what transpired on the night of your attack? Start at the beginning, the Major ordered. My memory was fuzzy and unsure, providing halting but terrifying images of that night. All too often I felt the icy grip of panic claw at my consciousness, weakening my resolve. I tried to detach myself from it, find something to focus on, when I noticed that he used a pen and paper. Old tech like that was an anachronism on this new fleet ship. Are you absolutely certain that there is nothing you can remember about your attackers that could identify them, maybe their height or tone of voice? He tapped his hand on the chair impatiently, waiting for my reply. It was late, and I was just woken up from a deep sleep. The only thing I remember solidly is the masks and the smile on the face of one of the men before they beat me. I shivered a bit, recollecting fragmented pieces of that night. Interesting. So whoever did this, it was personal for them. Such a pity you don't remember anything else. I watched as his face broke into a curious smile that I had not seen previously. He continued, Rest assured, though, I will continue investigating. They had to leave a trail somewhere. Though his words were reassuring, I saw his shoulders sag. I immediately felt as if I had destroyed any hopes of finding the men who attacked me. As he left, I sat staring out the window of my quarters into the dark abyss of space. The universe spread out before me with its infinite sea of stars. There were no answers out there. The calm and beautiful scene provided a perfect contrast for the tempest that raged within my own soul. Frustrated and feeling suddenly exhausted, I burrowed up under my blankets and let unconsciousness and despair claim me. Dreaming in tones common to the most hellish nightmares, I relived my attack over and over again. But I was not awake, experiencing in fever dream fashion the breaking of my bones and the beating of my body. The figures grinned down at me through their masks, their face morphing like demons. Terror gripped my heart. I could feel it beating fast. I was running now, but at every turn, there they were. There was no way out. The sick, closed-in feeling surrounded me again, restraining me like a straitjacket. No escape. There was no escape. Demons of my own rage appeared, the voice of the Admiral, my mind speaking from the briefing room, the strained relations, the fear of war. I could damn them all. I could turn and walk away without lifting my forepaw. There was a chance I could send the entire UEA flaming into the dustbin of history, torn apart by their own paranoia and fear. Just wait. Watching the world burn felt so soothing, so comforting in that moment. My hatred burned bright and provided an icy solace to my bruised and battered soul. The scene shifted abruptly, and I was facing myself, my human self, on the bridge of my last post as an astrogator so many years ago. I could see from my post the Hope adrift as her engine sparked and cracked. She was dead in the water. The distress call came over the intercom on the bridge, but the voice I heard, it was no ghost from the past, but the Admiral. Could smooth things back on Earth, the Admiral's voice cracked in the static of the distress call. Tensions are high, more questions than answers. His words came again. I saw my human self under coordinates. He was preparing to take us away from the wreck. He was going to damn them all again. Shock and deep sadness overwhelmed me as the scene froze. 7 years and I was back here again. The choice was larger now, the stakes higher, but was I really prepared to do nothing again? Was I truly so hateful and lost that I could be comfortable if good men died for my failure to act? An image flashed in that moment of Charlie bleeding and dying. Blood soaked my forepaws, and in that instant, in the logic of the dream, I knew I could have stopped it. The image faded, and again I was staring up at myself, my human self, as he spoke. You look different, but we're still the same, you and I. You only changed on the outside. He grinned, and his face twisted and distorted hellishly. He began to laugh at me loudly. You can't say that. I became better. I did something. I moved on from you. My paws shook, and I stared up at him in rage. Did you really learn anything? You can run, sure. You're made for that. You can run all the way to Sentiok 1, but that didn't make you better. Even on a world all by yourself, the only way you could escape your hate was to give up on thinking altogether. You still live with your hate. You still live with your judgment. You still live with me. Prove me wrong, Bunny. He was mocking me. His laughter echoed in my ears. I looked down, panic, his words rattling me to my core. Had I really changed? Beyond the fur and paws and tail and all of that? Was I a better person? I wasn't. I was worse. I was angry and full of hate, resentful and vindictive. I took a deep breath and felt a weight begin to lift. I had to let it go. I had to let it all go. Hate, my anger, my despair. For the first time in my life, maybe, I looked down deep, then up towards my analog. I forgive you. And I forgive them. I want to be better. You may have been me, but not anymore. Not from this moment forward. I am done with being a coward. My double shattered before me, the blood disappeared from my paws, and I felt a great relief as the weight lifted from my shoulders. Damn it, I was going to try. I felt myself startle awake, and I realized I was sobbing to myself, curled up in Charlie's lap. Feeling him so close made me feel safe, and I comforted myself in his scent, cloying cologne and all. Easy, Snow. Easy. It's okay. His words and tone soothed me. I took a deep breath and steeled myself for what needed to be done. I think it's high time you and I got to work, I said. Charlie had been reassigned to my quarters, and he was already up and around, sipping his coffee and going over papers. God, do you ever sleep? I replied, stretching out again. Not without orders. He shot me a smile. So what's the damage? What am I facing today? The attack had thrown the entire mission into chaos, but slowly we were reconstructing a timetable. Well, things are still in a delightful state of chaos. We missed the rendezvous point that had been in contact, but have been in contact with the Mendians through official channels. Along with wishes for a speedy recovery from the flu, they sent us a new rendezvous point. We are now jumping a gate Alpha Epsilon. I had no idea flu was caused by riot sticks. I joked. You learn something new every day. Did you know that dealing with high command causes hemorrhoids? Charlie shot back. What officer doesn't? I said, holding back a fit of giggles. Is there any news yet? Any new leads on what happened? I saw his mood visibly change as I asked the question. His voice was tinged with a hint of anger and frustration. The Major still has not named any suspects. According to him, there's little evidence, no witnesses, nothing. It's very troubling. Why is that, Charlie? I perked up my ears. I was never in security, so I knew little about it. Weapons of any kind are not just passed out on the ship. He withdrew his pistol and set it out on the table. I had to check that out of the armory. It was catalogued with my GA number. There's a trail stretching back Earthside to indicate who has possession of this pistol. Riot sticks aren't tracked that way, I guess, I replied, feeling frustrated. That's the thing, Snow, they are. You don't want weapons of any kind floating around on a naval ship without knowing who has them. I swallowed and an icy realization settled down in my mind. They had help, someone with fairly high-level access. Just saying it made me shudder. Exactly. And what's more disturbing, the Major hasn't found any hint of who it might be yet. That's why I'm here, Snow. We don't know who we can trust anymore. The words hung in the air, heavy and looming. Somehow, some way, I'm going to get to the bottom of this mess, don't you worry. Someone had to leave a trail somewhere, Charlie said, and his attitude comforted me. So what can I do? I'd like to have a paw in catching these bastards. Right now there's very little you can. We're kind of in a waiting game. Best thing is to keep your ears up, your eyes peeled, and hammer away on your protocols. Whoever did this, I don't think they were just after you. This had enough planning. Someone doesn't want our mission to succeed. Why? The Mendean Alliance has done a lot of good for Earth. We've explored out further than anyone dreamed of 10 years ago. Medical science is improving. Things are better. My tone took on that of an apologist arguing the merits of societal change. For some people, first contact has been a nightmare. Change never comes easy. You should know that, Long Ears. It scares people. There are plenty of people Earthside who resent the morphic clause in the Treaty of Gates, and even more who don't trust the Mendeans. I suppose that on a certain level it's healthy to be suspicious. I mean, you have to keep on your toes, but some people are downright xenophobic. My guess is whoever planned this attack has their sights set higher. If you were suddenly killed or otherwise out of the game, well, it would crank up the tensions. I shuddered, the idea of a larger conspiracy making me feel suddenly quite alone. Moved closer to Charlie, instinctively looking for strength in greater numbers. We're just going to have to make sure that we succeed then. I'm going to work on those protocols. I wasn't alone for more than a moment over the next few days, and I buried myself in my work. Mendeans had a culture of honor and protocol that made anything on Earth look tame, and I was determined to get it right. In spite of the time delay, Charlie had to leave a few times, but the doctor or even the Admiral would show up my door to check in on me. One night, as Charlie was leaving, Bradley showed up for guard duty armed with a pistol. I was grateful for the company, but inwardly prayed to the universe he wouldn't need to shoot anything. He sat down at the chair strategically placed by the door and huffed. So Bradley, now, how have you been doing since the other night? Have you made any decisions about your future? I pressed. A little. I think you're right. I need to make a decision. I think I'm going to go for it after my tour's up, he said, and straightened visibly. His new decision was giving him confidence. Well, remember, don't rush it, but I'm sure you've heard that 100 times already. Yeah, but I still have 3 years before my tour's up here, and there's a lot to do in the meantime. Just don't be surprised one day if you see me in gray fur and ears, he said, smiling. It's almost like he was a different person from a few days ago. I'll look forward to that. I'm glad my assault didn't scare you away, he smiled and stretched. Oh, I've thought about it, but I just don't think I can live my life being afraid of trying something that could really be right for me, Bradley replied. Good for you, Bradley. You're stronger than you know, I said, and then sat back to work. It was late in the evening, slowly giving way to night, when Charlie arrived in my quarters, relieving Bradley of guard duty. This time, however, he wasn't in a uniform, with shorts and a gray UEA t-shirt. How go the protocols, soldier? Charlie asked with his normal mirthful tone. I think my brain is stuffed too full to bursting at this point. If I read one more sentence about proper courtesy and decorum, I think I may go insane, I said, shaking my head, trying to settle the facts rattling around in my brain. Oh, it can't be that bad. What's the proper protocol for greeting? He asked, pushing me. I am Snow Dawkins of Mars. Take me to your carrots or face annihilation. I fell over on the bed, laughing at my own jokes. Charlie stifled a laugh and did his best to sound concerned. Oh, I do believe now we are well and truly doomed. I reached out, fuzzed my ears, and spoke in a serious tone. It is the reasoned determination of this commander that you have been working too damn hard and are about to go cross-eyed. Something went wrong. Just a second. What do you suggest, Lieutenant Commander? I replied with military efficiency. Oh, Captain, he replied, I think some R&R is in order. Tell me, do you like to run? My ears perked up. Chance to stretch my legs and lose myself in some activity was just what the doctor ordered. Why, certainly, Commander. What do you suggest? Right this way. He bowed and held out a hand towards my door. He led me to a gymnasium area about the size of a large basketball court. At this time of night, we were the only ones there, but the smell of sweat and effort still tinged the air. I stretched my paws and felt a creeping eagerness to run. Stretched out my forepaws and sprinted off and slowly fell into a nice rhythm. The ever-present motion made my muscles ache joyously as the rhythmic pattern of my paws lulled me into a relaxed state of mind. Slowly, I felt the stress evaporate as my ears heated. The cool of the gym moved through my fur, leaving me in a state of contented, active peace. Time became an afterthought as my mind drifted, my body moving with almost no need for direction. I just ran, lost in the moment. Over and over again, around and around I went until exhaustion and muscle failure claimed me, and I slowed, then stopped, panting hard, ears erect, dissipating the heat of my recent action. It felt good. My heart was racing and my body was floating in a peaceful euphoria. I heard Charlie slow to a stop as well and turned and saw him breathing heavily, soaked with sweat, with a look of satisfaction in his eyes. Man, I needed that, he said, wiping his forehead with a towel. You needed that, I said lightly. I've needed that since I got here. After a run like that, I would love a nice hot shower. He stretched out, bringing welcome relief to tense muscles, and cleaned up my muscle with my forepaws. You're not sweating. That's not even fair, Charlie replied whimsically. I don't sweat, not anymore. I wiggled my ears at him, still panting. I have built-in radiators. No lie. And here I thought they were just overgrown satellite dishes. Ah, stuff it, Charlie! Never insult a logomorph seers. It's a sure pathway to pain, I replied, giggling, as we made our way back to quarters. All right. Chapter. And here we go. So yeah, something's definitely going on. There's a lot that's up. Did I freeze? Can you guys see me? Reloading dashboard. See what we got here. Nope, there we are. I can still see me. Kind of. But let me do this real quick. I will be right back and then we'll close it up for the week. But yeah, back now, all that fun stuff. We've covered almost 10% of the book since we started today, and as I am remote and we are missing a few people this week, I think that's probably a good place to end it. Also, it's a natural cutting off point in the story. Snow is recovering. There is a larger conspiracy afoot. Things are happening. And what a cliffhanger to leave it on, huh? Because we will soon get some answers as we head past the 50% mark in the novel. That Major Randall Newman. He's suspicious, isn't he? I guess we'll find out next time on Readings with Rebecca. The next one will be in 2 weeks. I really need that day off every other week. I love spending time with you guys. Do not get me wrong. But there's a lot going on right now, and I'm really trying to juggle it all. So I really appreciate your understanding and patience with the delays and the cancellations we had last month. The good news is that going forward, I honestly do not see really any kind of disruption all the way through Exile. As of course, next by popular demand, we are leaving the Farthest Star universe behind and jumping towards Rise of the Forgotten. Allie, I appreciate that. I worry. I'm trying really hard to keep up with Readings with Rebecca and Hair Raising Games each week. Writing, juggling, all of that. It really has been a challenging year, and lately I've been kind of hiding from social media, especially like Facebook and Instagram and all of that. I don't want to sound like I'm whining or whinging or complaining, but there's so much negativity flying around out there. There's so much anger, and I understand why people are angry, but there's a lot in my life right now, and I very much want things to change, but I don't understand how exposing myself to the constant rage fest that is streaming in through my Twitter and Facebook, etc., is going to help achieve that change. Now, I'm not criticizing it. People need an outlet, but it's also important to protect your heart. You know, I mean, if I want to be a positive aspect of change in this world, I can't be so drowned and overwhelmed by the negativity that surrounds me that I can't function. But I honestly feel like the biggest way for me to make a difference is to keep up with my streams, to write my books, and to encourage people towards the better angels of their nature, and in doing so encouraging myself, because even the ones that are lost to their hate, there is something sacred in their soul. That's something that we can't forget. All lives are sacred. Black lives matter. All lives do matter. Cops' lives matter. But that there's a difference between what matters and the action someone takes. Now, you know, gods, I feel like I'm hashing this up. Basically, everybody that exists that is sapient, there is something valuable in them. Even the worst have something valuable in them. And I encourage everyone to remember that as we go through this time of upheaval and change. Hatred is what's gotten us here. Hatred won't get us out. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to be all necessarily sweetness and light. It's okay to be angry. But we have to leverage that anger towards a positivity of change, not a negativity of rage that just destroys and burns everything, because then what are we going to have? Right? I don't want to get too preachy, but just try to remember that we're all people. We're all imperfect. I really am. I get very tired of the amount of suffering perpetrated in this world. Yeah, there is. And we cannot let our righteous anger devolve into an unrighteous hatred. That's what I'm trying to say. Righteous anger can spur us towards change. It can let us look inward at ourselves, like we just saw with Snow, and show us where we've been blind. But unrighteous, just hatred, that's a blindfold. It's not doing anybody any good. So, fun fact about my family history. My grandfather was a police officer. He was a detective in the Newark Police Department. He worked in the juvenile division, I think for multiple reasons. He was interesting. He would get off from work, no lie, and he would go to these bakeries and get their day-old bread. He'd go to dairies, get milk, and he'd pass it out to the poor and struggling families that were on his beat. He did that back in the 60s. And I think one of the reasons why he probably stayed in the juvenile division was so that he could avoid the larger corruption and vileness that seems to unfortunately exist within our police departments. But in the riots of 1968, that this current period of unrest is being compared to, he was shot through the chest by a sniper during the Newark riots, protecting his partner in a crowd, including a 3-year-old child, trying to tell people to get down, which left my mother without a father at the age of 11. And I grew up with that. She never really got over that. Now, my father is a police officer, or was a police officer as well. And he was run out of his department for attempting to expose corruption within that department. Now, he wasn't a perfect cop. I don't think there's such a thing as being a perfect cop, and this isn't a pro-law enforcement rant. I have a lot of distrust of the police. I feel very uncomfortable around the police because of my family's experience as police. You know, my father had to stop being a cop because he tried to expose corruption, and they came after all of us. But I am reminded of the fact that my father tried to change things within his department. And he wasn't without allies. There were people that watched over us, that tried to keep us safe, that were fellow police. So what am I saying? What am I saying? That Not all cops are bad. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Not all cops are bad. But what I'm also saying is that those are the people where we can build alliances with to work for real change. That it's that a world of black and white leaves us with nothing. That life exists within the gray. Not telling people that, that the police are all sweetness and light. No, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of evil, there's a lot of vileness that seems to suffuse within modern law enforcement. That doesn't mean that there are points of light there that we can fasten onto and advocate for change. I'm just encouraging you guys not to get lost in black and white thinking during this time of societal upheaval. But anyway, once again, just another rant, right? I've got more passion than I know what to do with. But we're not going anywhere, people. Tomorrow is hair raising games. I'm pretty sure I can get Ori running on this laptop. Hoping so. I was able to get Hades, which seems like equivalent in graphics, running on this laptop. So we'll definitely be trying that. If not, I might be another Terraria stream. It might be, I might show you guys Hades, which is a really fun early access roguelike, Diablo-esque, that I just play the dickens out of. But tomorrow is our next stream, Hair Racing Games, and I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be about 12:30. 12:30 is working better while I'm out here on travels. My whole schedule is different than it normally is. I'm actually sleeping most of the night while I'm up here. Yeah, I'm still totally down with the idea of potentially starting a Studio Prey server so that we can all like build a world together, work together, have fun. But we'll just have to see. That's something for another time when I'm home. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for caring. Thanks for enduring my rants. I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow, or I hope so. Until next time, readings with Rebecca in 2 weeks. Until Hair Racing Games tomorrow, I wish you all the best, and I go out like I always do. Onward, towards the farthest star. We'll see you out there. Take care, guys.